Bear with me.
Hey you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor. The voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time. And SpongeBob SquarePants. Meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned, my friends are going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Freaking hilarious. IW, I got you on video.
Oh, no. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
So,
Oh God, what was he doing?
Oh God. Yeah, you'll see once I throw it together. So my name is Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have a kick-ass show for you. A bunch of people watching. So if you have questions, please get them into comments. And we'll start off. Steven, how's it going?
Good evening, everyone.
RW.
How you doing?
Yo.
Hey, everybody.
Jeremy.
I'm back again.
Hey. Yes, like I just saw you.
I know.
Yeah. So our guest, we've had him on before. Absolutely love him. You may know him from one of my favorite films, The Principal. Also Fire with Fire, and something Back to the Future. Maybe we might get around to that one. But Mr. JJ Cohen.
Yay!
I feel like I'm being held captive in this with this curtain. I feel like I'm in a perfect setting to be kidnapped or some shit. Hey, how is everybody? You know what, Randy?
Yeah.
Quite a long intro indeed.
Yeah.
Quite a long.
Oh,
Wow.
that's nothing.
And look at that. And look at that. You had Lou come in at the end, which was pretty awesome as the Father Evil. And you had Anthony Michael Hall, who's
he's
and
like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
But no, these are all my buddies and Felissa, and you got all great people on there. Gunner, what a great show! What a great thing for them to do, to endorse you.
Oh yeah, Felissa's such a sweetheart.
Yeah,
she's amazing.
I've seen her already at one show. I think I'm going to be seeing her at like 4 other shows. She's everywhere.
Oh yeah. You ever do any? I know he passed. You ever do any shows with Sid Haig?
I actually did do a show with Sid Haig, and it was 10 years ago. Actually, I'll tell you exactly when it was. It was April 2011. It was at the Hollywood show in Burbank. I was sitting right across from him, and we didn't say 2 words to each other the whole time. I recognized him as a character actor, and I guess he recognized me as the same. And what I remember was he had this big stack. And to this day, I mentioned it to agents because I'm looking for one to put it on my table. He had this big rack. Let me see if I can get back far enough. He had this big rack that he puts on his table, and he could put literally like 50 photos. Because when you go to these cons, people spread them out on the table, and it just takes up the whole table. But he had this rack, and it was great. That's what I remember most about him. We never really had any conversations, but I know that he was much beloved towards the end of the horror, especially in the horror community.
That was funny that you just said he was a character actor and he recognized me as the same. What's funny about character actors is technically aren't we really all character actors? But like you had Jeffrey Lewis.
No is the answer.
What did I miss?
He said no.
Oh, so Jeffrey Lewis? He was in like 300 things. They considered him a character actor. So a character actor. So what's the difference between an actor and a character actor?
Well, some of it's mostly semantical, but typically you have a leading man and then everyone else is a character actor.
Gotcha.
That's basically it. When I was, I think I had a span of being a leading man for about 3 months when I was 21, when I was good looking and thin and in great shape. And then for the rest of everything else, I've been a character actor ever since.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people use the character actor thing as much. So I was surprised that you said that. But yeah. I mean, Sid played things like Sid played unusual roles, like Brando played unusual roles. He played Indians. He played people who were Hispanic. There was just a very, very wide range because of his look. Right, and he was on everything like A-Team and Jason of Star Command and just all this stuff. So yeah, like Jeffrey Lewis, you saw him everywhere or whatever. But yeah,
so you're a big Jeffrey Lewis fan.
Well, I was born in '65, grew up in the '70s and '80s, and
I was going to say I too was born in '65, but the reason why I mentioned you being a fan of Jeffrey Lewis is because I bet you would know this other actor who was also in the same, and it's a little bit of trivia that has to do with Back to the Future. So Michael J. Fox, for those that don't know, his real name is Andrew.
Right.
Michael Andrew Fox. So, okay, I can tell you're shaking your head. You probably know the answer.
you're
So
gonna
who
say
did
the
he go
character
after
actor
Michael J?
Fox. The character
What's
actor
that?
Michael Fox. Are you going to talk about the character actor Michael Fox?
No.
Oh.
Why Michael picked the middle initial J for a reason.
Michael J. Pollard.
Correct. And Michael J. Pollard was right in there also as a character actor, like the guy, like Jeffrey Lewis you were talking about.
Yeah, so there was an actor named Michael Fox, and since Michael Fox couldn't be Michael Fox because there was already a Michael Fox, he didn't want to be Michael a Fox, so he was like, I need another middle initial. So
man, I am so glad that I quit drinking 25 years ago because I'd have been lost on that one. But
Michael J. Pollard was his favorite actor at the time, so he picked.
I'll give you $1,000 if you never say Michael Fox again. No, I'm just kidding.
But that's why he didn't want to be Michael.
No, that's correct because Mike Fox was already taken. He could have been Michael A. Fox.
Right,
but he went after Michael J because that was the reason, Michael J. Pollard.
Yep.
So
yeah.
You mentioned Sid had this rack, and the reason why I was going to mention it.
Nice rack.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
nice.
Well, I mean, you
Best
know,
rack in the business.
you know, never mind. I won't say it. I was going to say, you know, never mind.
I wanted to show my friend Lydia Manson's House That Eats Flesh T-shirt that she
nice.
sent me.
Well, let me put you full screen.
Oh, okay. The House That Eats Flesh. This is a movie that she produced. Whoops. I don't want to go too low because I'm in my undies. I don't want to scare the children. But look at this hair. While I'm full screen, look at that hair. So as I was telling everybody before we got started, on Sunday, I get ready to leave for about a 4 to 5 month tour. For those of you who did tune in last year, you know that might be too much face. For those, oh, there you go. I feel better now. For those of you who tuned in last year, were any of you here last year? Any of the 5 of you besides Leo?
I was.
You were here. So do you remember us talking about any of this? The tour and stuff? Okay. Was it just as fascinating?
Yeah, totally. All of it's fascinating. Stephen was going to go see you in Rhode Island, right?
Yeah.
Yes. What happened was it started in Rhode Island, and we did 19 stops in 25 days. And this year, we're going to do it at the end of it. It was like 3 weeks. I was so exhausted. Anyway, we're going to do that 4 times this year and see if we can kill myself. But no, we're going to do it 4 times. So we're looking at 76 shows in about 110 days. It's going to be comic book and toy stores all over the country. We had some things planned in the UK, but the schedule just got too crazy and there was nothing we could do over in the UK this year. So we're hoping to do that stuff next year, but I have 12 cons, again, all over the country, and that are definite. And I have like 14 to 16 that are pending. So if you're looking to get anything signed or anything that you need from me, I'm going to be near you, guaranteed. So come on out. This is definitely the year to do it.
Nice. So while you're at these comic shows, maybe they have like a old comic rack you can get use on your table, like a small comic rack. You know,
you mean like steal it from them?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
people are now going to bring them comic racks to sign. They're going to be like, "Hey, you want to sign my comic rack?" Hey.
Well, you know what it was. It was Sid had this. I mean, it was this fascinating rack that he had, and you can't see. Oh, I appreciate Jeremy laughing at that. Jeremy, you really would have loved last year. I was talking about my pink balls the entire time.
Oh,
by the way, wait a second. Speaking of my pink balls, I just happen to have one right here. Wait, where's the camera? There we go.
Your balls
Dork
are
thinks he's
beautiful.
gonna drown. Can we see it? There we go. And
that's awesome.
Let me tell you
I've
how
never
smooth.
said I loved another man's balls before.
How
but,
smooth. But this is the ball to love, the pink ball. And my pink balls, I'll tell you, they were a huge hit last year. For those of you who didn't get the chance to get one, they were the life of the party. You know, my pink balls preceded me. Let's just say that.
I see a AC/DC, parody. I've got pink balls. Yeah. I've got the pinkest balls of them all. Yeah,
My dog's getting jealous over here. He just lost his balls.
I bet Weird Al will help.
Oh,
yeah.
So you're heading back to Vegas shortly, right?
Yes. On Sunday, I'm leaving. I'm heading back to Vegas. Right now, I'm in Florida. Humidity, and I'm heading back to Vegas. Both sunny places. And I have a home in Vegas. I have a base in Vegas. I have a base here in Florida. And I'm only going to be doing these things for another few years, I think. And then I'm going to be heading off to a third world country, probably, and hanging out on the beach with virgin pina coladas. And yeah, I'll keep them virgin for now. That's part of the story. And then we'll see what's happening. Because if it's a deserted island, then, I guess it's no big deal if I kick one back. But yeah, I'm doing that. I leave on Sunday, and then I'll be gone, like I say, 4 or 5 months. Then I'll come back for about 3 weeks, get a little break, and then I will go to do another, maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and then that should be it for the year. So that's enough. That's good.
Oh yeah. Get it all out all at once. We were talking before the show, Florida and Vegas, 2 places I'm no longer allowed anymore.
Oh yes, and why is that?
Well, my from my first wife, my mother-in-law is in Florida.
Oh,
and yeah,
the whole state, huh?
Is that a restraining order?
No, well, not a restraining order, but if it wouldn't go.
That's
too
a
well.
lot of mother-in-law.
That is a lot of mother-in-law.
She sits around the house. She sits around the house.
I'm just not going to Florida anymore.
Yeah, no, I know, because we left. I left Florida. Last thing was like a screaming match with her, and it was just
God.
yeah. Oh my God, she's.
I can't even see you in that kind of a role, Leo.
Oh, she absolute evil woman. Absolute evil woman.
And then what happened? The other mother-in-law's in Vegas?
No. I had
she doesn't get the whole state of Nevada, just Vegas. She wasn't that bad.
No, I was working in Vegas remotely, and the owner of the company, I don't think he likes me too well, but he was very well renowned in Vegas, and I swear he was paying me with gambling winnings. But like, he wouldn't pay me like on a set time. It'll be like every now and then he'll like pay me for an entire month, and
it would be cash.
Well, it'd be a direct deposit. It was just
some reason they're Bellagio chips. I don't know.
Yeah, that's yeah. You might not want to go back to either of those.
No,
I had that situation when I got sober. I'm sober 25 years.
Oh,
celebrated that in March, and I got popped in Maryland. The second time I got arrested in Maryland, and I was living in California. I was an actor at the time, and in California, you get popped with weed, and it's like slap on the wrist. Have a great time. Do you need a ride home? Should we give that kind of thing? But in Maryland, where I'm from, it's like it was a year mandatory.
Whoa.
And it was really serious. And people were like, well, if you don't go back to Maryland, then you won't have the problem. And I was like, I don't want to live like that. I want to be able to go wherever I want to go, So I was prepared to do a year if I had to. And luckily, I didn't have to. And that's good, because I found out, it was the second time I'd been to jail. I found out I'm not a very good prisoner. I'm just not good at that. I'm not good at the homeless thing either. I did that for about 5 months, and not now with this beard, but many, many years ago. Did I ever get into my story outside of being an actor with you at all?
I don't think we talked about it too much. No.
Because good. Well, let's get into it tonight. Because the reason why is
tonight's about you. Whatever you want to talk about.
So. I actually have something. Well, enough about me. What do you think of me? No, but I actually have something for your audience if they're interested. So I had an acting career for 20 years. In 2000, I lost everything in the stock market. I got down about as far as you could go. I was sober for about 1.5 years at that time. And so when I lost all that money, I could not, it was in the dotcom crash. I couldn't blame it on alcohol and drugs. And so I took it really hard and I reached that dark place. And it's not the first time I've been to that dark place. And what happened was 2 years later, I licked my wounds and basically I borrowed $30,000 and I turned it into $600,000 in real estate investment. And I retired at 42. I'm now 56. I'll actually be 57 in a few months. But shortly after that, I had a plan to turn that 600 into 1.7 million. And my mom got sick. Not sick, just older. She needed somebody to look after. I had 4 sisters. None of them were stepping up to do anything. So I began taking care of my mom. And like a couple years into it, I joined Toastmasters. Do any of you guys know what Toastmasters is?
Yeah, actually, they want me to join it at work.
Oh, good. Well, Toastmasters, if you want to speak professionally, and there's a difference between being a professional speaker and speaking professionally. If you want to speak professionally, then that would be someone that's like maybe a teacher or something like that. But if you want to be a professional speaker, and professional speaking is not about giving speeches, it's about changing perspective. And so at least this is what we were taught in Toastmasters. And so it is probably the #1 organization in the world, if not the country, that helps. It's a very supportive environment. It's very, very PC. So it's not exactly, I didn't exactly fit in, you know. But I learned a lot from being there. And as a result of doing that and my success in real estate and being a speaker, I just so happened to have, I was asked to contribute to this book. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah.
It's called Jumpstart Your Success. 23 top speakers share their insights on creating more success, wealth, and happiness. And there's my picture right there when I had hair. Look at that. That handsome fella. And there's the 23 speakers. But you can actually find that book on Amazon, believe it or not, for $650.
Oh, wow.
I'm not kidding. It's like $647. So somebody thinks it's a really good book. But I wouldn't pay the $647. But I give it away at my, at the store appearances, Comic Cons, and while supplies last. I think I started with 1,000. And I think I probably have about 100 left. So once they're gone, they're gone. But one of the things I wanted to give to your audience, if they were interested, there's 2 things that I did that were free. 2019, didn't know what I was going to do. My mother passed away in 2016. And after 10 years of being her caretaker, in 2019, somebody sent me a private message and said, would you like to do these Comic Cons again? And I said, nah, I got such a small role in that thing, and it was only about Back to the Future, or so I thought. And I said, I'm good, I'm good. And that was it. And this kid, thank God, he was persistent. And finally he says, well, I beg to differ. The industry's very different now. And, by the grace of God, I guess one of the things that happened was when I was doing it in 2010 and 11, everybody was doing them. But not a lot of Back to the Future people. I mean, like the smaller cast members. But what happened was in 2015, I guess it totally blew up. And Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd and Tom Wilson had started coming. He was the guy that played Biff. For those of you who don't know, I was the original choice for Biff. And had Michael J. Fox been available originally, the producers wouldn't let him out of the contract to play because he was doing Family Ties. So they kept looking, and they found Eric Stoltz to play Marty McFly, and Eric and I are the same height, and they wanted somebody who was physically imposing over him. So that wasn't me. And so they found Tom Wilson, and Bob Gale on the end of the DVD commentary on Back to the Future says, if Michael J. Fox would have been cast originally, JJ Cohen would have been Biff. So just so you know, I'm not lying and making up that story just to get you to like me.
We like you anyway, JJ.
Oh, shucks. So what I said to that guy was, hey, look, if you think we can do something, great. And I went back to the first show, and sure enough, because all this stuff had been signed in 10 years by all the cast, and they had just totally saturated the market, that there are lines now at my table when I go do a con. And while I might not be a headliner, there's a demand, And we have 394 comic book and toy stores around the country that want to host me.
That's
and awesome. None of them have said I had to take a shower beforehand or anything, So that's good. I know.
Con recently?
Have I been to a what?
Have you been to a con recently? A lot of those people don't shower.
I fit right in. In fact, I thought of going as cosplaying one of my own characters, and I was like, I'll bet they won't even get it. They wouldn't even know, because I look nothing like those people, nothing like my characters that I played when I was younger. But but one of the things that I did, where I was going with this, was in 2019, this kid asked me if I wanted to do it, and I thought, go ahead. And so we booked a couple of things. While that was happening, I went back to doing what I had wanted to do before going back to cons, which was to teach. And what I wanted to teach was wealth, financial principles and building wealth. Because one thing that I've learned about us in America, whether COVID-19 or not, we know how to make money, but we don't know how to keep money. And it's one of the things that the wealthy have learned how to do. And they do it through tax incentives and tax loopholes, and by studying that stuff or gaining the knowledge of it. And you'd be surprised with just a little bit of knowledge how far it can go. So that's what I wanted to do. I built a website called jjcohenmembership.com, and I was going to go back to doing that and teaching people how to do what I did, which was namely turn $30,000 of borrowed money into $600,000. And retire young or younger, and use that money to take care of your parents or travel or whatever it is you want to do with it. But basically taking more control of your life. During that 2019 period, I did 5 interviews with, and the theme was enlightened wealth. And so I interviewed a Reverend Stephen Kraft. Reverend Stephen Kraft's story is very interesting. He's a black man who was living in New York in the projects, and the way he tells the story, his story is actually in my book. The way he tells the story is he was actually coerced with other addicts to go and throw his cousin off the top of an apartment building. Oh, wow. Because his cousin had shot up in the building, and if the cops came and found it, they would shut down the building. So what the addicts did was decided to make a plan to throw him off the top of the building so it looked like it was a suicide, and they wouldn't condemn the whole building. And he said, at that point, I knew there was something wrong, And he now has become a preacher. And to hear him tell the story, it's just a phenomenal story. But he was talking, one of the things that he was talking about in this interview was this genocide that was happening in South Africa among the majority black population that were killing white farmers and taking their land and boiling them literally alive. And I really don't know if the story ever got out or got public enough, but I found it fascinating. I mean, it was just fascinating. Anyway, we talked about that. We talked about a number of other things. And that was one of the interviews that I did, but his story in himself made him successful. It wasn't just about financial success. Again, the theme was enlightened wealth, not necessarily financial wealth. I also had someone on there, Sandra Champlain. We Don't Die. She wrote the book We Don't Die, and it had to do with, she's a renowned author. She's a caterer by day, and she does these workshops on the weekend with mediums from all over the world, and just bringing in such comfort for people who have lost parents or loved ones, and just letting them know we don't die, that there is something else beyond this life. It's very, very profound interview. There's another one, Robert Sheeman, who's very, very funny guy, speaks 7 languages. He's absolutely brilliant. He's a real estate investor, written many books. He's the type of guy who donates a house a year to a family in need. And the conversations that I've had with him, again, just really intelligent. He's written a number of books on real estate. If you don't know, Sheeman is Shemin. There were a couple other people. Oh, Chris Knight, Peter Brady.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that Chris Knight is a very wealthy guy, and I know Chris because he was actually the casting assistant to Eliza Simons. See if you follow this. He was the casting assistant to Eliza Simons, who is married to Eric Roberts. And it was for a TV show called Home to Roost, starring Jack Klugman. I went back 8 times to play the son of Jack Klugman. It was a sitcom, and it was perfect. I thought, this is definitely the next step up. It was right after Fire with Fire. And I thought, oh my God, three camera show, sitcom, pinch me, right? This is incredible. I'm this kid from Maryland, man. I don't know anything about this stuff, And it was so amazing. Anyway, I didn't get the part, so it's okay. But they paid me $2,500 a week to stay home, to not audition for anything else. And the reason why I tell you that is because the person who wound up getting the part, it was John Stamos. And everybody knows that John Stamos and Jack Klugman look exactly alike. So, I mean, Klugman's like a dog face, you know what I'm saying? And like, I would have been perfect for his son. Yeah. But anyway, John and I were friends at that time. He used to come into my parents' restaurant and stuff, so we'd always joke around about that. But the purpose of the story was that's how I knew Chris. I was never really, I was a fan of the Brady Bunch, like all of us were, but I was never enthralled with him because of being Peter Brady. You know what I mean? And so I always knew him as Chris Knight, and that was the deal. That was how it worked. So he came on, and I did an interview with him. But what a lot of people don't know is that while he is most known as Peter Brady, right? Pork chops and applesauce. He actually went and sold he was very much into infotainment, which is a combination of information and entertainment. It was to educate children, and he was basically in the technology business, and he developed these different platforms, and then he sold them literally for millions of dollars. He lives in Newport Beach. He's got a beautiful house, and just a super guy. Anyway, he was one of the interviews. And then another woman who was a speaker, who's one of the speakers in that book, Jumpstart Your Success, Reverend Stevie Kraft, his story also is in that book. But I have these 5 interviews. Alligator Sally is her name, and she basically ran a business that her father left her, which was alligator pelts. And I don't know if you know this or not, but one alligator pelt is about $70,000.
Oh, wow.
And she had like a huge farm that her parents had left her, and it was It was insane. Anyway, so she was the last one. If any of your readers or listeners want those 5 interviews, I've been trying to put this up since 2019. Hopefully it'll go up by the end of this year. But if you go like my page, facebook.com/J.J.Cohen, J.J.Cohen.actor on Facebook. I got about 18,000 people on there. And just, get all the notifications. And whenever I put the link up to get those for free, get them. And you can get them. And then the other thing also is I wrote a book. It was an ebook. And it was about auditions. And it was called, what the hell did I call it? Enter Stage Left, I think, was the publishing company, i.e. my publishing company. But it was called Top 10 Tips for Better Auditions. Get that job. That's what it was called. Get that part. That's what it's called. Get that part. And it's got pictures of me from auditions, and it's not just for auditioning. It's also for getting the job. It's also for how to handle yourself in certain situations. It's a really beneficial book, and it's free. Again, all you have to do is go to that page and just participate. And when I make the announcement when that thing's available, then you get it for free too. So
nice.
That's my biggest problem.
What's that?
Auditions.
Well, I'll tell you the thing about auditioning. So we tend to look at all auditions as meetings. And if we look at it as we're having a meeting, then you and I are on equal footing. And you remember Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yes.
The actor. Philip Seymour Hoffman said something very interesting. And him and I I was a method actor when I worked. If you knew any of my work, I was a method actor. And that system of work is very, very intensive. And then I switched to the Meisner technique, which is still incredibly intensive, if not more so, dealing with the imagination, as opposed to what really happened, dealing with the imagination, because sometimes our imagination is a lot more powerful. I mean, think of where we were today when we were bummed out about something we thought might have happened and it didn't happen, but our imagination took us there. So the imagination doesn't know whether it's really happening or not. It believes what we tell it, if we can put ourselves in that environment. And one of the great things Philip Seymour Hoffman said was, if you get a chance to act at any given time, and this includes auditioning, give it your all, because that may be the only opportunity you get to actually perform in front of someone. And Stella Adler, the great acting teacher, actually, she was more of an acting coach. And I've taught several workshops myself. And one of the things she used to say was, a guy was doing a scene, and he was playing a lawyer, and he came in like a button-down shirt, and he had a pair of jeans on. And she said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm what do you mean, what am I doing?" She says, "Well, what part are you playing?" She says, "Well, I'm an attorney." She said, "I've never met an attorney that dresses like that." And then she said this: "If you don't dress like the character, you have no character." And the whole room got quiet. I just got chills myself, because that's the kind of really deep, profound shit that makes you either want to continue being a craftsman, or and realize what you're doing really is a craft, or it's not. The same guy went over to a water, like a sparklets thing, and he filled up a couple of drops of water in this cup, and then he went back across stage. Okay. And she said, "What did you do there?" And he said, "Well, I filled up some water." And he said, "But why did you go over there?" And he said, "Because that's where the blocking took me. I'm supposed to be over here to deliver this line about, oh, look, there's little Johnny coming down the street. So he had to be over near the wall in the window. She said, yeah, but you didn't fill up the glass of water. You just took a few drops. You must not be very thirsty. And what it puts in your head is acting is not pretending. Acting is not believing. Acting is not reacting. The best definition I ever heard is acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. And that was Sanford Meisner's definition. In other words, you point a gun at me, I know it's a prop gun. I just saw Bill hand it to you. But if I don't believe there's a threat here, and you and I don't have that kind of exchange, then the audience isn't going to have any exchange. And they're not going to be brought into it. And I grew up on the theater. I mean, the fact that I made a living in film and TV and for as long as I did, I mean, for the longest time, you know, I was like, well, this is what I've been meant to do because I'm doing it. I'm being paid to do it. And this is great. And then when I was in real estate, involved in real estate, I was like, well, no, this is what I've been meant to do. And, you know, and then when I went to jail, I was like, no, this can't be what I was meant to do. Wait a second, time out. You know, let's rewrite this script. But that's, you know, that's part of it too, is that you get to kind of recreate. You get to recreate. Acting is better than life. You know, when you're put up on that platform, you're raised and you have a responsibility to bring something that's deeper. Standing in line at the bank is boring. Standing in line at the bank, getting ready to rob it, that's what people want to write about. Okay, so if there's any writers out there, any performers out there, you know, people say, well, what do I write about? Write about exciting things. Write about things that move you. I mean, all we can really, as any kind of art form, you know, you have a show called The Dorkening. You don't try to do a sports show, you know. Not that doesn't mean you don't know anything about sports or don't have a favorite team or whatever, but this is your thing. This is your niche, you know. And any artistry knows that all art comes from you. You know, the best art comes from you. And it's you know, I'm at a very exciting time in my life because I have enough money. I'm now collecting a pension, you know, and I live a good life. Most of the stuff that I have will probably be donated, you know, when I pass. I need to take better care of my health. It's one of the reasons why I'm going back to Vegas sooner, you know. I've definitely neglected that. And I'm paying the price for that, you know. But hopefully in a few months, it will, whatever's happening within me will reverse and get better. And Yo-Yo, don't start crying. Yeah, because you start crying, then I'll start crying. And then, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, it's I don't think it's that serious. But we'll, you know, we'll see. I mean, right now, one of the things I've learned in the last few years is that I don't have children, so my legacy is the people that I can touch between now and the day that I die. And the way that I personally can touch the most people is to do cons and to do appearances, because that's the biggest audience. And I actually have a show in the works. It's a one-man show called the JJ Cohen Experience. Took me forever to think of that name. Everything. What I've learned about marketing is use your name and everything, and you'll be okay. So what happened was you know, the funny thing is, so I was in real estate, right? And when I went to real estate, my wife said to me, I had a ponytail at the time. My wife said, listen, you're going into real estate, you're going to these banks, you're borrowing thousands and thousands of dollars from people, from the bank. Why don't you get rid of the JJ? Why don't you get rid of the earring? Why don't you get rid of the ponytail and go back to Jeff? And it worked. In real estate, it worked. It was perfect. And then when that divorce happened and I went to go take care of my mom, I remember going back to AA meetings, right? And I remember being in an AA meeting where I had gotten sober and going, hi, my name's Jeff. I'm an alcoholic, and nobody like acknowledged. Hi, Jeff. That was it. And these were people that I knew for years. I was like, God, why are they? And then one day, I guess I wasn't paying attention. I went, "Hi, I'm JJ, grateful recovering alcoholic." And they went, "Oh my God, JJ, that's you." And at that point, when I Googled myself, sounds dirty, but when I Googled myself, there was no Jeff Cohen except the fat kid from Goonies, who's actually an attorney, the guy that does the truffle shuffle, right?
Yeah.
And so every now and then on Facebook, I'll have a conversation with somebody for about 20 minutes, and they'll be like, "Hey, listen, you're really a down to earth guy. You were great in the Goonies, and thanks so much." And I was like, "Well, wait a second, what?" And I would, right, and I would tell them, "Well, I'm not the fat kid from Goonies. I'm the fat kid from Back to the Future, and I'm not the Asian kid from Indiana Jones either, by the way." But that's the other thing. Take what you're doing seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously.
You
Go ahead.
Bernie Kopel, right? Bernie Kopel.
Bernie Kopel.
Bernie Kopel. Yes.
You're talking about the guy from the cruise ship, Love Boat.
Yeah, so he was in Love Boat and Get Smart. So
Right. Get Smart. He was the German.
Yes,
right?
He was from Chaos. Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
So,
and loving it. Yeah.
Yes. So I had a conversation with him a few months back, and I said, you're very talented because now, you played characters within characters, and that's got to be, really hard to do or whatever. And I said, I think I mentioned to him that auditions were tricky and whatever. And he said almost the same thing as you. And I don't remember how he exactly worded it, but he said acting is taking your lines and investing as if you're living your life and this is actually happening in the moment. So it's not like, and I guess my problem with auditions is they give you a side when you walk through the door and they go, "Here, read this." And you don't know anything about it. And it's, it says, "Hey, Johnny, come here. I want to talk to you." Do I say, "Hey, Johnny, come here. I want to talk to you"? Or
Well,
do I say, "Hey,
it
Johnny, come here. Do I want to talk?" So they're inside.
Two things.
Yes.
First of all, it depends how you feel about Johnny and how is Johnny to you.
Right.
And what is it that you want to talk to Johnny about? Did he just fuck your girlfriend?
Right.
Did he just steal money, or did he just now bring a basket of cookies over to your sick mom in bed?
Right. So, but sometimes it doesn't give you what that is. So that's where I always have the problem. And I'm always like, what is this person looking for? So I already go in to the audition going, I'm not going to get this part because I don't know what they want or whatever. So,
well, don't worry about, I think part of it is, the reality is they don't know what they want either.
Right.
The bottom line is, I don't know the scene, but if I can identify with the scene or the sides, first of all, try to get the sides as much in advance as you can.
Right.
Try to get as much of the material. I remember, and don't tell people. Actually, I don't care if they know now. What are they going to do? They can't do anything. But I remember 20 years ago when I would go audition, and sometimes they would have like envelopes on the door past hours, like 7, 9 o'clock at night when you would go pick up the sides. And they would have, for the character of Jane, they'd have these sides, and for Bill, these sides, and Cole. And sometimes they'd have 20 envelopes with 20 different scenes. I would just take every single scene and try to piece it together to get a script. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's funny because a lot of people, right, don't think that like that, right? But you think get as much of the information as you can, and some of it you might have to create. Listen. Yeah. Very funny story. One of the first auditions I ever did, it was by a flaming gay guy. What was his name? Oh God, Bobby Hoffman. Remember the show Happy Days?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Bobby Hoffman was the casting director for this. Flaming homosexual. Okay. And then there's a reason why I tell you that, because back in the 80s, it wasn't cool to be gay. But this guy like insulted me on my first audition. He was like, well, I come from the East Coast, so now I don't really have much of an affected speech, but I used to be a lot of this, that, these, and those, and hey, you got a quarter? You know, I used to talk like that. And he said his butt's too big. He's got a space. Why he's looking at my butt, I don't know. Maybe that do something with the gay thing. He says his butt's too big. He's got a big space between his teeth, and he's got a draw that he can't get rid of, meaning my accent, you know. He'll never work. And I probably worked more on that Paramount lot than on any other lot that I've ever worked on after that, you know, in terms of my career. Because I remember leaving an audition on the Paramount lot, not that one, but other ones where I had just been turned down and turned down. My first year of auditions, talking about auditions, I went on 30 auditions, man, and I never got, not even a job. I never got a call back. And that was my first year auditioning. And it was very easy to quit at that point, you know, because you haven't lost anything really. But I remember towards the end of that first year going on this audition, and I was leaving. I was going to my car, and I felt great. I felt like I had just done one of the most powerful readings I'd ever done. And I knew I didn't get the part. And on the way to my car, I said, you know what? I'm never going to quit. I'm never going to quit. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. I am not quitting ever. I'm going to own this studio one day. And within 1 year, I had the second male lead of Fire with Fire, which was a Paramount Pictures movie, you know. And I was treated like I belonged, you know. I was eating in the commissary, you know, on a regular basis. And, you know, like, you know, when you hear the commissary, it's like, it's a big deal. It really is. It's like where agents go and meet their clients. And I remember going on the Universal lot and eating at the commissary with my agent and him telling me what the latest news was. And it's really been a charmed life. You know, I'm getting choked up thinking about it, but it's really, really cool. You know, the other thing too about auditioning is when you are the person that you're reading with, you can't always rely on them to be good.
Right.
Because most of the time they'll read, you know, you'll be like, what was that? Hey, Johnny, where's the tea? And they'll be like, the tea's over in the corner. You know, and there won't be any emotion. There won't be anything that they'll give you. And the rough thing about the Meisner technique, which is what I was studying, is it's all about working off the other person. Right. So you just now, I'm looking at RW right now. You just now nodded. So now I can continue. Right. Just nodded again. So now I can continue. So I'm working off your behavior and reacting to it. You with me? But when they're not doing anything, what do? And so what you learn to do is you have to create your own story. It might be wrong. One last thing about Bobby Hoffman. They had no idea what they were looking for in Jenny Piccolo. Remember the character Jenny Piccolo on Happy Days?
Yeah.
She was known as the slut, right? Because Aaron Moran was always saying, well, Jenny Piccolo says boys can kiss on the first date. And she's always talking about Jenny Piccolo, like getting some, right? And Jenny Piccolo got down to 4 women, 4 actresses. 3 of them were drop dead gorgeous. And the other one was not, we'll just say. But it was the one that was not that actually got the part because she embodied what was so funny. So a lot of times in auditions, they don't know what they want. Go in, make strong choices, and commit to it, whatever it is. Just commit. And they'll see that. And if you have an understanding of the sides or the part at all, if anything, and to have an understanding as an actor, as a writer, as a director, as a producer, means to have an understanding emotionally. So if you can connect emotionally, that's it. You got it. You know, then it's just how good can you be?
Right. Yeah, I actually have done a lot of writing, which to me is easier because I can put my stuff into there without wondering if some, you know, like, because on audition, usually the auditions I've ever gone to, there's like 3 people sitting at a freaking table or whatever, and they're like, "Here you go, go ahead," and they're looking at you, and you're like, "Hey, Tommy, what blah blah blah," and they're like, "Okay, yeah, okay, that's good. Can you read the next one?" And they're, you know, most of the time they're doing this while you're doing your thing, and then
they're not even paying attention.
Yeah. And
so so there are certain things you can do, like tricks of the trade, to get their attention. But you have to risk offending. Yeah. And unless you're willing to risk offending, and many actors are not, they're afraid, because if I piss you off, you may never call me back again, or you may not like me. And let's face it, as actors, as artists in general, we're incredibly insecure people. We want to be liked. I mean, as much as you have this radio show, if nobody tunes in and nobody else comes, then it's just me and nobody will like it. And well, shit, what's the point of even doing it, you know?
Yes.
But what it gets down to also is there's a psychology too when you audition. Check this out. I was auditioning for a TV show, and I don't remember the name of the TV show, but I knew I nailed this audition. I mean, I nailed it. And they called me back, and I knew I had this part. And the guy in the room, other actor who was auditioning, he also was auditioning for it. He also knew I had that part. Because and there's no other word really for him, but what this motherfucker did to me for the next 20 minutes while I was in the waiting room, he was right there, man. I mean, like right here on my side. I got up, he got up. I went to get water, he got water, stood right behind me. I leaned up against the wall, he leaned up against the wall. This guy got in my head so bad, and I let him. He got the fucking part. And 2 weeks later, when I saw him on another audition, he apologized to me. And he said, I knew I wasn't going to get that part unless I did something drastic. And the producer, when I got it, even told me that you were the first choice, that you were going to get it. And he really wanted you. And I'll tell you how bad he wanted you. He made me do everything that you did in the audition when I did the part. And that's just part of the insanity. So it's competition, man. I mean, remember, there's one role. People, now I play a lot of, I'm in Vegas, so I play a lot of tournament poker. That's what I do. And I'm a very competitive guy. I want to win at whatever I do. I'm an okay loser, but I really want to win, and I try to handle losing with a certain professionalism or class. But I really want to win. And when people say, where did you get so competitive? Well, I played ball when I was a kid, but aside from that, there's only one role, man. And it really is like what Ricky Bobby says, in the movie, right? There's first place, and then there's everybody else, And if you're not in first, man, you lose. You don't eat. Yep. It becomes a serious thing. And so you have to kind of have that. The other thing is too, and it's a feeling. It's a feeling you get, and it's not always from how you look. Sometimes it's just how you feel. I'm big into meditation now. If you don't meditate, because sometimes, a lot of times, we get too much in here, and we're just not turning it over enough to powers greater than ourselves, or God, or the universe, or whatever you believe. And it's there's so much stuff that's outside of our control. I look back at my life and I think there's very little that I really did. I mean, I didn't move to California. My parents moved to California. If my parents hadn't moved to California, they wouldn't have opened up a restaurant. If they didn't open up a restaurant, that agent wouldn't have come into the restaurant after I'd already had a few agents, looked at my picture on the wall, and my mom, who was my greatest agent of all, said, "Oh, he really is good. You really should give him a chance." This agent called me in, and she wasn't doing anything but being a mom, you know, and then all of a sudden I hit with this guy, you know, this one guy, Joe Rice, and this guy Joe Rice happens to be Robert Englund's agent.
Oh, cool.
Freddy Kruger. And so we did an episode of V together, Robert Englund and
I was hoping you're going to bring that up. One of my favorite shows ever.
Did you ever see the episode, The Wildcats?
I've seen them all.
Yeah.
I watched when V first came on, like the mini
Yeah.
series. I was like, oh my god! Then there was V the Final Battle, and then there was V the series. I
Right.
have them all on DVD. Yeah, I saw them all.
Well, this episode, you know, the funny thing is I was so critical of everything back then, you know, because I wanted to be good, you know. And now I look back at some of this stuff and I watch it and I go, God, you really were pretty good in that, you know. You're okay, you know. But when I saw it at the time, I was like, oh God, that was terrible. Why'd you do that? Why didn't you do this? Why, you know? And it's a whole new appreciation now, you know. And you know, from a spiritual side of it too, Robert Sheeman, the guy who I was talking about before, who that I had interviewed in one of the real estate interviews, the Enlightened Wealth. He's very, very big into spirituality, and he once asked the Dalai Lama, Reb Chaim, who's a very, very prolific and revered rabbi in New York, and Master Chen, who is a Buddhist monk. Also, he said, if I could take any message back to people, what would you have me take back to them? And they all said the exact same thing. And he said, I just wish people wouldn't be so hard on themselves. And, you know, as a recovering alcoholic, 25 years, the drink may be gone, but I'm still going to be the guy that's going to be hardest on me, you know. And that's why I meditate, you know, because I need to remember I'm not in charge. You know, the sun came out this morning and JJ had nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? There's something bigger. There's something. And when I go and do these cons and I see some of these celebrities and they're just so full of themselves and they're just so, I mean, it's just, I'll tell you what I did. I don't do it anymore. I went to a show and I won't mention the guy's name. But it was a show in London, and he was the headliner. And he had a girlfriend that later became his wife, and she took his name. And anyway, he went out, and I guess he was doing blow and drinking the night before. And I didn't have a lot of people at my table. You know, we were in the UK, and the guy next to me that I was with, you know, from the same movie, he didn't have a lot of people at his table, but this guy had like a huge line, like all the way going out the building. And this guy had his like head on the desk and his hand up, you know, like this kind of thing, like so people could just shake it. And he wasn't even acknowledging him. And this was a guy that I rode into the show with on a van from the airport, right? So I didn't really know him other than then, oh, this is Mike. Hi, Mike. His name is Mike. I won't, that's all I'll tell you. His name is Mike.
Mike at the UK Comic Con.
His name really is Mike. And I went over to the table and I slapped the table really hard. And I was like, get your fucking head off the table, man. And I did it in like a hushed voice, but I was really pissed off. And luckily there was no security around. But I'll tell you the only person that had security, which you'll kind of get a kick out of being the Dorkening. But remind me to tell you before I leave tonight. But I was like, get your head up off the table, man. You got all these people here and you're making all of us look bad, you know? And I was like, it's really disrespectful. I was like, go put some water on your face. And he goes, who the fuck are you? And I said, I'm nobody. I'm the guy that came in on the van with you. But it doesn't matter. I'm sitting at that table. I got nobody at my table. You got all these people and you make us all look bad. And so I don't know what happened after that because I just walked away. But it just pissed me off, you know, that he had such disrespect. And now I see people do that, and I don't react one way or another. I just kind of keep to myself and do what I'm supposed to do. because I think, as corny as it is, stick with the lovers and get away from the haters. I don't have a. If you were Stephen, you might remember this, and Leo, you remember this from last year. I don't have a personal page on Facebook because when I came back to doing these shows in 2019, I found out I had a lot of lovers and a lot of fans, but I also have a lot of haters. And these haters came from agents that I had signed with that I left and blocked. And I know blocking's never fun, it never feels good to be blocked on Facebook. But there were also some fans that were just really out of line and rude. And there were just a lot of different people. Okay. And what happened was they conspired against me. And my guy, who actually, Leo, my tech guy, looked into it, and he said, I talked to my friend at Facebook. Did I ever tell you this? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't think you mentioned this last time. No.
So he said, my guy. Well, I think I did, because I was not only cursing the guy, but I was also talking about how ugly.
Yes, I remember.
I was talking about how ugly his children were.
Yeah.
and then the whole panel turned against me, like, oh. so I won't mention who he is and how ugly his children are this time. But what happened was this guy, my friend, okay, said he talked to his friend at Facebook, and the Facebook friend was like, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. I really shouldn't say anything. And my guy was like, come on, JJ's a really good guy. He didn't really deserve to have this happen to him, and he can't get back on. He's trying to show his ID and his passport and his driver's license, and they're still saying that he can't get back on. And they're like, Facebook was like, hi JJ. That's how they responded to me, like we're first name basis. Hi JJ, thank you for submitting your documentation. After reviewing it, we've decided you still go against our community standards. This decision is final. There will be no further review. And I was like, wow, so that's it. I've had that account for 10 years. All of a sudden there's a problem. And so what my friend said to me was, the Facebook guy told him that if you get 3 complaints about your profile within a 24-hour period, your account gets flagged. And I said, okay. And he goes, well, you got 22 complaints in a short amount of time. And I said, well, what were the 22 complaints? And he said, well, the first one was that you're impersonating the celebrity known as JJ Cohen. And I thought, no offense to myself, but I mean, if you were going to impersonate anybody, why pick JJ Cohen, So that was the first thing. And then the second thing was that I was scamming people out of money. And then the third thing was harassment. And I thought, I never harass anybody. People harass me. Like, I've had people, I'm Jewish, so I have people say things like, I'll try to keep it clean, but they'll be like, oh, Hitler was right. You should go back into an oven, and, why don't you crawl back into your mother's, blah, blah, blah. And just really mean, cruel things, man, that have nothing to do with anything. And like, I would never do that. But I would never, even if I hated you, I would never think, hey, how do I get that guy to get his account off Facebook? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is what the guy said. So he said there were 22 complaints. Those were the top 3. He goes, but wait, it gets better. And I said, what? And he goes, they were all based in the UK.
Oh, great.
And I was like, oh, I know who it is. And it was this agent that was behind this, that tried to sabotage several private signings that I had done. And luckily, somehow I'm still able to, converse with people through the fan page. So, and I'm also on Instagram at JJ Cohen. If anybody's interested in hanging out over there. And, but that was it. But it was kind of devastating when it happened. And so when I pulled all my team together and we were all like, well, shoot, how are we going to sell things now? Because literally 100% of the stuff we sold was done through private messaging. Like, I would post something on my page and I'd say, if you want more information on these t-shirts, send me a private message. Oh, how much are they? They're this much. Oh, PayPal. Here's my email address, etc. And that was it, And all of a sudden that was all gone. And so going back to that whole thing of, okay, so how do we restart? You were broke, you were in jail, you were homeless, and you brought it back. How do we bring it back? And I'm like, I don't know how we bring it back. Maybe we just keep moving forward. And so we plan a tour of 19 places in 25 days and say, ha ha, you can't stop us. We're still going, and that's it, man. And now it's 4 times that this year, and I'd always like to think that my message is a message of hope, that the end result is one of hope and being hopeful. Because I know that, my life has been such extremes and on so many levels, and I know not a lot of people have to live on those extremes. A lot of it's because I'm in the public eye. I've been in the public eye since I was 19, and so some of it I kind of just accept. But remember, when I was working as an actor, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have any of that. I remember when I first came back in 2010, there was a guy that wrote an article called "It's All About Biff." And he was talking about how Biff was such an important character to Back to the Future, which I agree, Biff is. And I don't believe it's as important as George McFly, but it's an important character. But this guy was going on and on and on. And he goes, and Tom Wilson was so great playing him. Nobody could have played him better, especially not JJ Cohen. And he named me, and obviously he knew that I was the original choice. And I just thought, what an asshole, what a mean guy, you know what I mean? And it was totally uncalled for. He was some guy, I can't remember his name, Bill Gronkus. No, I'm just kidding. I don't remember what his name was. But I remember trying to find him. And I remember him being in Florida, and what I could find out was that he lived with his mom. And at the time, I was living with my mom because she was sick. And I don't know what his story was. I'm pretty sure it wasn't because she was sick. But all of a sudden, I just had to have compassion for the guy and, find a different way. Because I was either going to love him or hate him. And if I hate him, then I'm the one that gets sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's that?
I was just going to say, you definitely have a lot of amazing stories to share with us.
I see what you did there. By the way, I was in 2 episodes of that. I was in the hour-long one with Kevin Costner, directed by Spielberg.
Yeah.
I can call him Spielberg. Don't you call him Spielberg?
Okay, I'm sorry.
But no, but you can call him whatever you want. And Kiefer was in that. It was cool. The other one was this is how interesting this is. So I was in a movie called 976 Evil, starring Stephen Jeffries, and Robert Englund directed it, Freddy Kruger. I got that part because we were with the same agent, and I went in and I told Bob what I wanted to do with the character. He liked the idea, and he said, okay, you got it. Great. That's that. Cut to, I do this episode of Miscalculation. It is directed, it was with John Cryer and Joanne Willette. It was directed by Tom Holland, who directed Stephen Jeffries in Fright Night. And kind of full circle. And it's weird because I don't know if this is interesting or if this sounds conceited or what, but you know that 50 Shades of, or 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yeah.
You can actually play 6 Degrees of JJ Cohen.
Wow.
That's how cool a career that I've had. And I didn't even know it was that cool until there were 2 pivotal moments when I realized that some stuff that I had done were cool. And that was in 2000 when somebody said, do you know that I Googled you last night? And again, I said to her, that sounds dirty. And then I realized what she was saying, that I could be Googleable. And I thought that was kind of cool. And then the other thing was that you could really do this 6 Degrees of JJ Cohen thing because of cast and crew. I also worked 3.5 years behind the camera too. during this 20-year acting career. So it's been awesome. It's been an awesome life. It's what is this going on? What are we like 4 hours now?
Hour and 15.
Oh my God, that's it.
The mission is the one about the airplane that is going to crash, and he draws
the wheel.
tires.
That's right.
What was the other one? Do you remember what the other one was?
Yeah, the other one was Miscalculation with John Pryor. Yeah.
So
that one was only a half hour.
Yep.
And that was season 2. I only unfortunately have season 1 on DVD, but I did.
Oh, what the hell, RW?
I know.
Oh, Jesus.
Amazon's open 24/7.
You were saying earlier that you were homeless for 5 months.
Don't forget to pick up that $647 book while you're at it.
Yeah.
By the way,
you had said earlier that you were homeless for 5 months. I was homeless through the winter in Vermont for 5 months, so that was fun. So most of my stuff is in a storage unit an hour and a half from where I am right now, and I only have a few things. So I managed to have this, but I don't have my V stuff here.
Why were you homeless for 5 months?
It's a long story, and we're here to talk about you. But I was just saying that's why I don't have the rest of my stuff.
What was it? I mean, was it obviously money had something to do with it? Was it drugs and alcohol?
No, I luckily, thank God, never got into smoking, drinking, or any kind of drugs.
So it was women.
Yeah.
Well, it was a woman. So I was.
There you go.
Real quickly, I was living in New Hampshire. My girlfriend and I broke up. I literally crashed with some friends. And then there was a situation that happened on December 5th of 2017. And I had a disagreement with their daughter. And I'm like, you're wrong and I'm right. And they're like, the door's right there. Have a nice life. And I had to like throw all my stuff in the storage unit and live in my car. So
one of the things that I've learned is when you have no money and you're staying in somebody's house, yes, you're always wrong. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You're always wrong.
So a lot of my stuff is, in a storage unit. So I don't have everything, but yeah, I remember that when the show first came on the air, I watched it religiously. Awesome. I thought it was right up there with, Rod Serling's original Twilight Zone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And just
that show kind of scared me. Did you guys ever get scared by the Twilight Zone at all?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. I went back and rewatched like the very first episode, and it's like, holy crap, is it free?
There's an episode of Facts of Life that scares me.
Oh my God.
Well, that Natalie, she is something though.
The first episode of the Dorkening. I mean, that was
the episode where like Tootie's having a nightmare, and like before every commercial, the guy comes on, he's like, I'm going to leave you with one word, Tootie. And like, dude, like Claire and that, like she's wearing this like, it messed me up as a kid.
I bet.
For weeks. No
that's,
facts.
Yeah.
So what, I mean, was it how? I mean, not to take any more time, but like, what was it like working on V and Amazing Stories? Like, I mean, like.
Okay, so here's an interesting thing. So V, the night before I did the first day of V, I was robbed at gunpoint.
Whoa.
Closing down my parents' restaurant in Santa Monica, California.
Oh man.
Yeah, like I say, man, there have been some highs and some lows in this life. What happened was I was closing down my parents' restaurant. It's actually in my book. It's a part of the chapter in my book, Jumpstart Your Success. I was closing down the restaurant, and guy came in the back. I just let the pest control guy in, and guy came in the back door, and it was tap, 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 tap. It was metal on glass, and it was his gun banging on the glass door. We had a glass door, and then we had a barred door. And he came open. I made eye contact with him. He came in the door. He asked me if anybody was here. I said no, because I just let the pest control guy in. He said, "Where's the money?" I said, "I don't know. I just finished counting it." And he hit me in the head with the butt of the gun. Now, my dad's office was literally a chair built into, a tabletop built into the wall, a filing cabinet right behind me, and a chair. So when he hit me with it, my first thought was fall down and pretend like he knocked you out. But what happened was I went to fall down and there was no room like to lay out. So I fell down into like a catcher stance. You know what I mean? Then I couldn't fall one way or the other. There was no room. And this fucker was right in front of me blocking me, you know? So what happened was I put my hand up to my head and I looked at my hand and I saw blood and I got pissed off. And I stood up slowly because I was going to take this guy. And what was running through my head was, he's taller than me, but he's thin. I can take him. And I'm going to rush him. And as soon as I started to do that, there was a noise from the other room. And it was the pest control guy. And he said, "Who is that?" And I said, "That's the pest control guy." And then I thought, well, I'm not going to do anything because if the pest control guy gets shot and killed, then I'm going to have to live with that the rest of my life. So I'm not going to do anything. So the pest control guy came in. The guy kicked him in the balls, kicked the pest control guy, and he went down. And then he said, had us both proceed to take all our clothes off, buck naked on the floor, tied our hands behind our back with our shoelaces, and proceeded to rob the place. And when I looked back at him, he said, "Where's the money?" I said, "It's in the drawer, blah, blah, blah." And I looked over at him and he kicked me in the face and he said, "Don't look at me." I turned back around and he got the money and he left. And he said, "Count to 25 before you get up." We counted to 25 and that was it, man. And that night was the night that I was no longer an innocent kid. You know, and I remember going to the airport that night to pick up my friend whose apartment I was moving in with, Jamie Bosey, and he's another actor, or was an actor at the time. And I remember being really, really angry, man, just really angry that night. And everybody, I wanted to fight everybody, you know, in that airport. And by the time I got home at 3 o'clock in the morning after picking up my bud and we were there, I was sleeping on the sofa because my bed hadn't been delivered yet or whatever. And I remember pulling the covers up over my head and I just started bawling, crying because it was the first time I realized I could have died. Wow. And the next day when I went to the set, you know, I told everybody the story, but I was so angry. So that role that I played on V, you know, that was just a perfect role because that kid was fucking angry. You know, his parents get killed by the lizards and he runs the game. It was called the Wildcats, and I was Tony, the leader of the Wildcats. So, you know, we had to kick some alien ass, RW. That's just what happens. You know what I mean? That's just how we roll sometimes. But no, it was very profound. I remember too when I got the principal, like right before I got the principal, my agent, I was 21 years old and I was heartbroken, man. I mean, heartbroken, like first time really, really bad. And I remember my agent and I having lunch and he said, "You don't look good, man. You don't look good at all." And I said, "I'm not, man. I'm not, you know, I'm just not." And he goes, "I think I have the perfect part for you." And it was the role of White Zach in The Principal. And I went in and I read it and I thought, and when I was in this restaurant with him, telling him about how bad I felt, there was this Mexican busboy and he had a hairnet. And you know, when you wear a hairnet and you see the little black dot, like right there in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I did. Cause I had long hair at the time. So I wore this hairnet and it was the rape scene. The audition scene was the rape scene. Talk about auditioning and finding ways to show the emotion when you can't rape the casting director. What do you do, right? So what I did was I went in the room and you know, we talked, we're going to do the scene and they wanted to talk. And I said, "Can we wait till after the scene and I'll talk to you then?" I didn't ask them. I told them that's what we were going to do. You with me?
Yeah.
I knew from that moment on, I was going to have a good audition. I didn't know whether I was going to get the part or not, but I knew I was going to have a good audition. And so I closed the door. And when I opened the door, I just stuck my hand in and I turned the lights out of the room and then closed the door again. So that it was a dark room. And I was just thinking about all this as it was happening because it just seemed like the thing to do. And when I opened up the door, I just went and attacked her. And what I did was I brought a phone book with me. And I said, you think I won't hurt you because we're in an audition right now, but you got the wrong guy. And I said, go ahead, touch it. And I grabbed her hand and tried to get her to touch my private part, my single part, my private part. And, she resisted. And I said it again. I said, you think I won't do anything? And I took this phone book and I proceeded to I said, this phone book is you. And I proceeded to beat the shit out of this phone book. And I mean, there were papers all over the fucking place. I mean, I just pounded this fucking thing, ripped it up again. And after I was done, I was all out of breath and I finished the scene. And then they said, would you like to talk? And I said, sure, whatever you guys want to talk about, it's kind of like that, and then I looked at the casting director her and I had history. She wasn't the nicest casting director to me in the past. Her name was Judith Weiner. And since that moment, she had always been nice to me after that. And I had always been respectable to her as well after that. Again, it's about commitment. I remember this thing too, where Eddie Murphy had stopped doing stand-up comedy for a while, and this was like after he did Delirious and all this. And somebody else said, what's so great about Eddie Murphy? And he goes, because when he goes out there, whether the joke fails or succeeds, doesn't matter. He commits to it. And that's just it, man. You have to commit. And if you're wrong, you're wrong, but you have to commit. There's that song by Blues Traveler that says, it doesn't really matter what I say as long as I speak with conviction. I forget the next lines, but it's the Blues Traveler song. You guys know the song I mean? And it's a powerful words, because sometimes that's true. And like Barack Obama, like him or hate him politically, whatever, he was just a phenomenal speaker. I mean, and I was into speaking, and presentation, and he was just a phenomenal speaker, And one of the things they used to say about me in Toastmasters was, man, you are the master of the pause. Because of just how I would use it, and it was good. Like, some of it's theatrical, you know what I mean? And so it was like giving, trying to give a speech on resiliency, which is one of my topics that I used to speak on. You fall down, you get back up again. You fall down, you get back up again, right? It was a topic that was so perfect, and you could relate it to anything. You know what I mean? Like in love relationships, and familial relationships, in anything, we're constantly, and you look at the people who are like the oldest people in the world, like when you see an elderly person, and when I see an elderly person now, like who's 80, they got to be older than 80. When I see a person that's like 80 plus, I think, God, this person has dealt with so much, just things you and I probably joke about, so much negativity and overcame it. So much bad breath in their face and overcame it. So many bad smells. I have like a gag reflex, you know what I'm saying? So like I could never change a baby's diaper. It would be very difficult for me to change a baby's diaper, for example. Okay. So it's like, I mean, I would do it if it was my own baby and I really had to, you know what I mean? Like if my wife was that selfish. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I would do it if I really had to, but it's, but anyway, I just think of all the struggle that this person has overcome, to be able to live that long in this world. I mean, just in the last 3 years of dealing with like certain promoters and celebrities and, like some first year show owners in like small communities have just been so rude. And then like you expect it from the bigger shows. So not that they get a pass because, kindness rocks in my opinion, but, and you just go, wow, where does that come from? And the best thinking that I can come up with is just don't you do it, JJ. Just don't you do it, And just because you respect someone doesn't mean they're going to respect you back. And just because you're kind doesn't mean, but you do you. You do what you have to do, to stay on your path. And that's it, because there's a lot of distraction and there's a lot of people out there for whatever reason, whether they don't like, I had a sister who was gay, and I had a niece who is now my nephew. You know what I mean? And being Jewish and just, I have lots of friends, black, white, gay. There's going to be a million reasons why people just won't like us, and the human condition states that we want to not necessarily be liked, but we want to matter to someone, and we want to contribute. And as long as we're contributing and we matter, then we have a purpose to get up in the morning. And so I hope that all of you find that. And all the listeners and the people that tuned in, thank you for listening to me. And I hope you all find that. And if you come to any of the shows, I'd love to give you a hug or punch you in the face, whatever you choose. No, give you a hug. Hey, look, Jeremy's thinking about it. Jeremy's
options.
Jeremy's gonna get a shirt. Jeremy
Options are
shirt.
good.
Punched in the face by JJ Cohen.
Options are good.
I came to this con and all I got was punched in the face.
and then I won $2 million in a lawsuit.
I'm also with lawsuits. I got hit by a car last week.
Oh my God!
Let's not do that.
Okay, no problem. No, but I really love when people come and visit, and so I hope you guys will come out. If I'm in your area. And
how many cons in New England? I'm sure you're probably doing.
I got one in Rhode Island.
Yep.
It's actually the movie. It's a screening of the movie Back to the Future at the Misquamicut Beach, July 21st to the 23rd in Westerly, Rhode Island. And then I know I'm going to be at what was the show that I mentioned earlier tonight? Wicked Killer Horror Fest.
Yep.
On October 5th through the 7th. And that's going to be in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Nice.
I got something in Ohio, but that's not New England, right? No. Okay.
What about
outside?
I tried to get into Terrificon several times, and I guess that's probably never gonna happen. I don't want to
get you at Super Mega Fest, and maybe Leo has some contact there.
Oh, in Framingham, yes.
Yes. Well, they moved it. They moved it. They've moved it somewhere else again. So it's September this year.
Oh well, which? Well, you know what, Leo? Let me know, because my September, there's actually 5 weekends in September, and there's 4 weekends in September, 5 weekends if you count the 30th as a Friday, and I'm booked on 3 of them right now.
No, I don't remember. Is it the 20 something or other? But yeah, they just moved it to another place.
Yeah. It's from the castle.
Yeah, they moved it out of the castle.
Is it the 25th, 26th?
If that's what it's saying.
That's the only one that's the 20th in the 20s. But I'll be in Mobile, Alabama that week with you know who Robert Mucus is?
Super Mega Fest is September 30th through October 2nd.
There you go.
Oh, I'm available.
Yeah, so we got to get you there.
Get me there. Call them.
Yeah.
Well, listen, if all 5 of you send a private message to that show and say, hey, why don't you bring JJ Cohen in this year? Bingo!
There you go.
We can make it happen.
So they started out in Framingham, then they moved to Marlborough, and everybody complained, so they moved them back to Framingham, and now they've moved them somewhere else. So, yes. But I just want to say,
I'm down.
I helped to raise 2 daughters, because obviously I didn't do it alone. I was married at the time. But every time I had to change a diaper, this is the only way I could do it.
Yeah.
And some of them were like up the back, and oh wow!
How did you guys switch places?
Oh, because Yo-Yo got bumped out, and when he came back in, it's just where he got put.
Oh, I gotcha.
I was seeing if I could come up in JJ's
If you could
box.
come into my thing. Hey, there you are. Hey, get out of it. Get out
Here's
of
the
there.
story.
No, where's the hand? Oh, it's the other side.
JJ, what's
Yeah,
the
it's
best
very
way for them to reach out to you?
What's the what?
What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Probably Facebook. Facebook.com/ J Cohen.actor, or Instagram @JJ.Cohen. If anybody wants to. Yeah. But honestly, seriously, the best way to get into cons is when people request people that they want to see. So it definitely does help.
Yeah, no,
And I appreciate that. Thank you all for coming tonight. And I know you had a lot of, especially the panel. I know you guys had a lot of options of what to do with your night.
Oh yeah.
So thanks.
I would have been wallowing in self-pity. That's what I would have been doing.
Okay.
That's my favorite place to wallow.
It's like wallow in self-pity or join this podcast. Let's see. The podcast might be fun.
Well, thanks again. Oh, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow night. I will be with Lydia Manson on Just the Deets on Hellfire Radio.
Awesome. Well, we'll let you go, JJ. Just a heads up, I just emailed Super Mega Fest to let them know that you're interested in being a guest. And also,
so when you send someone a message and you say I'm interested in being a guest, it makes it seem like I have the power, and I don't. So if you're going to message someone on my behalf or something like that, if you wanted to say something like, would you be interested in having him? That would be better, because I can make it very easy for shows to have me. Like, I don't really ask for a guarantee, or, I make it very simple.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Can you rewrite that to them?
Yeah, I think I can. So,
but what was the second thing you were going to say? I know
the other thing was Toastmasters. So that's something you do recommend.
I highly recommend it. And you know what? I actually think you would be fantastic in it, because you have a kind of a professional demeanor to yourself anyway. And if you're looking to give speeches publicly, you'll do phenomenal there. It's an incredibly it's like an overly supportive environment. It's like if every time I said something positive and you all just started clapping for me. That's how it kind of is. That's kind of how it is. It's not obnoxiously supportive. It's a very supportive environment.
Sounds like AA, where everybody comes up and hugs you afterwards and stuff.
No one hugs. No, there's no hugging.
Hugs. Oh, that's
no hugging in Toastmasters.
There's a
That's
big
why
sign.
I stayed out of
There's a
NA
big
and
sign,
AA.
Jeremy. It says no hugging.
No hugging allowed.
But you'll learn a lot about speaking and about commanding the audience, and they have all these different things, even about evaluating people's speeches.
They're gonna help you with words.
It was, yes. Oh, and here's something that you learn, which obviously I have not mastered yet. Time speeches. So most of the speeches that you'll have are like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 7 minutes. And based on how fast you talk, I'm someone that talks pretty quick. So you're about 100 to 120 words a minute, roughly, for me. So if I have a 7-minute speech, I know I can't have a speech that's longer than 120 times 7. You follow me?
Yep.
And if I pause in between, then it needs to be maybe 100, 700 words, So to be on the safe side, maybe you go 650 words. You figure out where your pauses are. You figure out where your points are. If you tell humor, if you use humor in your speeches, it's always a great way to open, because the minute you have someone laughing, they can't wait to hear what you're going to say next.
Right.
So know that whenever you're speaking.
Awesome. Yeah, I in my new job, I give a lot of presentations, and matter of fact, I was had a presentation the other day, and I got cut till the last of it, and I had to go through 2 slides in like 5 minutes, and my boss said I spoke too fast, so that was it was a lot of
Well,
fun.
there are actually, believe it or not, not everything in Toastmasters is all inspirational speeches and things. A lot of them are presentations, and exactly like what you're talking about, like how to put on a podcast, things like that. So this will definitely help you. Highly recommend it.
Awesome. Well, I'll get the wheels spin at work, and
cool,
because they'll pay for it, so I'll just need to sign up.
All right, cool. Hey, thank you again, you guys. I gotta go. I'm exhausted.
Thank you so much, JJ. It's always an honor, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, see you soon. Peace.
Bye.
Thank you.
Well, that was a lot of fun.
It was. Until that
Whose toilet
tornado
sounds
warning
like
went
a
off.
demon? Somebody's toilet flushed at the middle of that question, or something like happened during the middle of that question, and it sounded like a demon was coming through. I was like,
I'm nowhere near my toilet right now.
for real. All I heard was, I'm like, what the fuck?
So there's a tornado warning in Memphis, Tennessee today, and there's like 7-8 inches of snow in North Dakota right now.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. How was your day?
Well, I know we're running late. Did everybody see Moon Knight?
Not the
I
third.
did.
You
I've
did?
only watched
I
2
know.
episodes.
It's
you
rare
think,
that I
Yo-Yo?
actually catch up to things. Yeah, I liked it actually.
Yeah.
I am interested to see what happens in episode 4 now, because how episode 3 ended.
All right, so episode 3, we get any new characters?
Yes. It was actually one of the characters that died right after filming.
Oh.
Yeah. So some of the scenes definitely were cut a little differently.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's the guy. They bring up Magipur. And it's the guy that owns the. He bought the coffin off the black market, so he's the one that actually the actor did pass away. So it seems like he would have had more, but they cut around it.
People always taking time off.
Oh yeah.
That was a bad joke, huh?
It's okay. It's late.
Did anyone see that new Stranger Things trailer?
Talk about late, Steven. Are you awake, man?
Yeah, I've been awake.
You look like you've had a rough day, huh?
What are you talking about?
You look tired, bro. Like, I thought I looked tired.
Hold on. What the fuck are you laughing at, Arthur?
I'm not. I'm coughing. I'm just getting out over a cold.
I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine.
You just looked so tired. I was just like, is Steven okay?
Yeah, no, I was enjoying the interview.
Oh no, that was great. He is inspirational. I have to say,
Last episode he was on, I'll need to find it. He gave us some really good information about like Back to the Future, like behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean it was.
No. I was really taking in everything he was talking about, like when RW was asking him about
auditioning,
auditioning and stuff. Like I can't even remember the technique that he uses now.
Right, yeah, the 2 different techniques or whatever.
Yeah. Like it really, like, it makes sense almost. It's like to explain acting to somebody that doesn't really get it. It really makes sense to be like, you really have to pretend like that you're there and that like this is happening and your reality is this.
Right. Yeah. But again, I'm like, this is my reality, but is this the reality you want from me?
Exactly.
And that's where
but you have no control. Yeah, you have no control over that though.
Yeah. So it's like, do you want me to be this like deranged guy, or do you want me, like what? And I always never know what they're looking for, but that's why I always have a hard time with them. But I've been, again, lucky and blessed with the work that I have gotten and, the amount of time that I've been doing it or whatever, but still auditions are the hardest thing.
Hell, man, even getting up to go to an audition's got to take a lot out of a person.
I went to one once, and before I went on this audition, I talked to the people and I said, is there a dress code? Is there something I should be wearing? And they said, wear what's comfortable. If you're comfortable, then, you'll do good or whatever. So I went in and I had these sneakers on that were like probably 1.5 sizes too big for me that a friend of mine had just given me. They were his favorite pair of shoes. And I'm like, I'm going to wear these because he gave them to me. And I go in and I forget what else I had on or whatever. And they call me and I go up and I have the thing in my hand and I'm all like, okay, this is it. You're going to do this. And the lady who looked like, she just won the Miss America beauty pageant, was related to the Kardashians or Paris Hilton or whatever, looks at me and she goes, first of all, you don't show up at an audition looking like this. What's up with those shoes? Those shoes don't even fit you. Like, the fact that you even showed up to this audition like this tells me that you have no idea what you're doing. And it wasn't an audition with me and them. All the other people who were going to audition were in the same room. Yeah. So I'm like, and all these people are looking at me and I'm like, I get called and asked what to wear. And you said as long as I was comfortable, then, it was fine. And a friend of mine just gave me these shoes and they're important to him. And I wanted to wear these shoes as kind of like a good luck thing. And she's like, you don't ever show up like this. Go ahead and read. And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, Jim, do you want next? And I'm like, wow. So like, that's why I now am scared to do any kind of audition, because I was told to dress however you want, as long as you're comfortable, and then got attacked in front of the whole entire room.
No,
So
that would definitely, as JJ was saying, most creative types like us are we're already aware to the point of like, we know everything that's wrong with us. Like,
yeah.
It's funny because like some people try to like make jokes about me. I'm like, hold on, I got way better stuff for you. Like,
right,
if you want to hit hard.
Well, I post a lot of downer stuff lately on Facebook, and you probably don't see it or whatever, but I'm just going through this point where it's like, why am I even here? Like, I'm struggling to do my thing. And I posted the other day, and this is the God's honest truth. When I was growing up, my dad said, you'll never amount to anything. And so I have that in my head every day when I fail, every day when I try to go to an audition, every day when I do something that I think is the greatest thing that's going to like take the internet by storm, and it doesn't. I hear, you'll never amount to anything. And so I start believing it, and it's like I get inside my own head, and like this guy just said, you got to not listen to those people or whatever. And it's really hard when you grew up in a place where your own dad said you'll never amount to anything. So, you go on an audition and someone yells at your shoes. I like literally just wanted to walk out then. But I'm like, let me just try this audition, and I was struggling.
You're
like,
already feeling like you're in front of a person of authority. Like,
yeah, so it was
already
the
nerves there. So,
but luckily, I found a bunch of different people, like people here, and here that I've worked with. So then, when they do a project, they go, "Hey, we're doing something you want to be in," and I'm like, "Yeah." So I don't have to audition because they know that I can do it because I've worked with them before. But it's the new group of people to sell them on me and like have to do the whole make you like me all over again stuff. But anyways, yeah.
Well, RW, just keep in mind you have a family here that cares for you, and you ever feeling down, just
every day. But yeah,
I got plenty of really low crap to go. If you guys want to just like do some war stories sometime, I'm going through a lot of low crap myself these days.
And see, that's the thing. When I'm going through my stuff, going, the fucking world sucks, and this, it's there for like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and then I go,
well, Jeremy's going through this, Leo's going through that, this person's going through that. Why is my stuff bigger than theirs? And then you go, wow, I'm selfish because I think my stuff is so, horrible, and these guys got their stuff they're dealing with. Why am I even posting this stuff when they're going through shit?
Never think like that.
I feel that myself, but
Yeah.
I totally understand that, RW. And I also take people's words probably in ways that they don't mean them when I'm like going through stuff, and I'll be talking to them and they'll say something and I will then twist it into something that I'm like, well, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I got nothing to complain about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all go through stuff, and what I like is we're all here for each other. So it's everybody has their hills and valleys, and it's just I don't know what to say. That could be totally inspirational, but
God damn
now
it.
this
We need a
whole
JJ
night up
right
until
now.
just now, totally inspirational.
Where the hell's JJ when you need him?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying though. Like, it's funny because Tracy does tarot readings and she's fairly new at it or whatever. And so the other day she was about to do one and I grabbed 3 cards and she's like, what are you doing? I go, read these 3 cards to me. And she's like, something's coming that's going to be change and you need to be ready for it. And it's something that, you've been waiting for, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So then that was last night. So tonight she's always on her phone and listening to TikTok or this person talking or that person talking. I'm like, what are you listening to now? She's like, this lady's doing a reading. And the lady goes, okay, this is for, all you water creatures, Scorpios, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, this is this card. This is this card. Change is coming for you. Something you've been looking forward to. And I went, whoa, that's what you said last night. And she's like, yeah. And I go, but this is weird because like now she's saying the exact same thing. And she's like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, maybe. But, and she said that time, the lady doing the thing today said time's not linear. So if I were to tell you it's going to happen in the next week, it might not happen for a year because time isn't like that. So I could say it'll happen within a month and it would happen a year, or I'll say next year it'll happen in 2 days. So I never say when this thing is happening, but both Tracy's reading and this person on the internet's like, we're like the same or whatever. But anywho, I just got to hang in there. And again, I've been doing this for so long. It just sucks because my eyesight's going, my memory's going. Next thing you know, I'll be Bruce Willis. No offense. That's very sad. But I think that same thing's happening to me where I'm like, I don't remember why I'm here. What am I doing? Why did I come downstairs? What was I about to do? So, yeah.
Did you say alopecia?
Yeah, I don't know what it was called.
I'm gonna work that joke
Will
in
Smith
somewhere.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, anyways. But yeah, I love doing these shows with you guys and picking on you guys and getting picked on back or whatever.
Totally. And if we can just get Steven to realize not all of it's attacks and just take it.
I know. I try to be funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have some amazing stories.
I love the cartoon on that with the dog whizzing on the
the only
carpet.
cartoon episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that. I was hoping he was going to say he did a voiceover in that because I would have loved to talk about that
I was going to look it up before the show, but somebody I know worked on that episode, and I don't remember who it was right now. But I'm going to take my hat off here for a second. Let's take literally 15 seconds of silence for Gilbert Gottfried. Let's remember him. Oh, please. That's way too long. I should have only gotten 5 seconds. Oh, come on. Okay.
Well, anything else we need to bring up before we wrap it up?
Oh, I was mentioning before I was before
in the way back.
Something about the Stranger Things trailer that came out yesterday.
Yeah, Stranger Things. I didn't watch it. I'm still.
Yeah.
I still need to catch up on Stranger Things. I only watched the first season.
The only thing.
The last season was good. Second season sucked.
Yeah.
This trailer that came out is.
I can't say sucked, but wasn't as good as the first season.
Yeah.
this is the trailer for the 4th season, and apparently this season is being broken into 2 parts.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the final.
Yeah, and with everything that's going on in this trailer, I can see why it's being broken down into 2 parts, and lots to dissect in this trailer. But watch it for yourself. It's like there's going to be a lot going on, and I can see why they're breaking it down into 2 parts. Obviously, if you've seen the pattern with Stranger Things and how they bring 80s icons into each season, you have Matthew Modine in the 1st season, you have Paul Reiser in the 2nd season, and Sean Astin in the 3rd season, or I think it's flip-flopped. Robert Englund is going to be in the 4th season. So, yeah. So, but anyway,
that should be interesting.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to mention.
Well, something that they should not have broken up into multiple seasons for the last season. We're almost caught up with Walking Dead.
I gave up on that a while ago.
Like when Negan came in, I watched a little bit, maybe of that whole season, and then I read the comics all the way through until they finished it. And I thought they were good. It was a good storytelling. The politics and everything used in it were really well. The show really just became, how do you kill a zombie differently each week? And don't get me wrong, I think that's cool once in a while, but
it's way past that. And Future Girl, good night to you as well.
Yes, good night, Future Girl. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah, it's they're at the Commonwealth now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, and it's a lot of people tuned off when they killed off Carl, and
I know that a lot of people got upset. I heard that they were using the suits, the full body armor, all in white and stuff, and I'm like, hey, that's actually from the comics. Why are you people upset about that?
A friend of mine from Kentucky, his name is Billy Crank, and he started out down that way as an Ernest P. Worrell lookalike. Nice. And there's a video on YouTube. It's a movie called Ace and Ernest, or Ernest and Ace's Wild Adventure, or something like that, where he plays kind of a Jim Varney, Ernest P. Worrell. He just was in the last season of Walking Dead, so he could be a potential guest to talk about his Ernest P. Worrell and his experiences on Walking Dead and what that was like, or whatever. I don't know if he had speaking parts or whatever, but he did post a picture.
Yeah, but just just behind the scenes and everything like that too. It's that'd be cool.
And then I started watching some new show. It's got Scott Bakula in it, and it's called Quantum Leap.
Oh, that's a good show. I think I caught that once.
Steven's like, new show. But since we talked about it.
It's not a new show, Arno.
I know.
For 5 fucking decades.
That was the joke, Steven.
I was born in 1970.
About the reboot, so I'm like, you know what? I never watched this because, and I remember why. I loved the show Voyagers with John Eric Hexum and Minu Pellucci with the little pocket watch thing, and then it got canceled. And then I'm like, okay, Quantum Leap is just a ripoff of this Voyager show, so I'm not going to watch it. So I never really did. I think I maybe watched 2 episodes, but Tracy and I started watching it last night from the beginning, and we'll go through and watch it, so that way I'll have a better understanding when the new show comes on or whatever. But oh my God, looking at some of the CGI or whatever, I'm like, oh my God, this is bad, like really bad.
I was about to ask, does it hold up?
Not on my TV. Well, I have a freaking 8K TV or whatever. This stuff was filmed in a VHS camera or whatever, so it shows you every little.
Oh, great!
If I had an old 1980s TV, it'd probably look really nice on it. Yeah.
I never got to watch the last episode. I was like a young kid when that was coming out, and the last episode when that came out, because there was no DVRs or anything like that. I was in trouble for something, and I was grounded, and the last episode came out, and I never got to see it. So
I looked on every streaming service, including Pluther, and it wasn't there. So I finally had to install the Roku channel on my TV, and you can watch the 5 seasons for free on Roku channel.
You should have asked for it, RW.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever get around to it, and I was still looking for PJ and the Bear and the Incredible Hulk episode.
Oh, if you looked, there is one season of Incredible Hulk on.
Oh, I did the other day, and I didn't see it. Okay, yeah.
RW, get in line. I'm still waiting for my stuff too.
Hey, let's not have a duel.
The demands.
Let's not have a duel.
Yeah, it was gonna be added, but then it got deleted. It was like, I had computer issues.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I started watching that with Tracy, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I loved Quantum Leap when it was out. It was definitely one of my favorite shows. But speaking of shows that you missed that you never had a chance to watch, I was dying to see Alf when it first came out, and I missed the first episode, and I never saw it up until I think last year. I finally saw it.
I loved that show.
Did anybody get a
and the
chance
cartoon
to watch the 4K motion picture Star Trek yet?
Not yet.
No.
It's on my list, but I haven't.
Paramount Plus, they added the 4K remaster of Star Trek motion picture.
Yep. 79. It's funny. I remember being in school, and like every comic book that you would pick up, either on the back page or the inside cover, was Star Trek the motion picture, and there were 2 different ones. There was the one of the ship with all the little squares of the people, William Shatner and stuff, and then there was the one that was like the rainbow one, and it was in every comic book. They must have spent so much money on advertising for that thing, but I just, when it came out, I loved it because I wasn't one of those cynical people back then. I was like, it's Star Trek, but everybody's like, the motion picture, it's a horrible movie. That's not
I'm
really.
glad to say I'll never be one of those people. I will always so much love every Star Wars that they put out. I'm like, yeah, give me more. Freaking I love when they add to the stories. I hate when a story ends.
Yeah. Well, we've had this discussion, many times, and not naming names, but like DC. I love whenever there's new stuff as well, and if it sucks, it sucks. But at least they took a swing at the bat. It's at least there's a chance that something could be done right.
Leo, you can say the name. I can take it. Go ahead.
It's not just Steven. He didn't like. We don't have to rehash it. But I don't know.
It's not here to go into a 20-minute fucking rant. So
right, no 20-minute rant. Yeah. I just feel like, and again, I haven't watched them all, but I just think that there's too many. It's like it's polluted. That's my opinion, and I'm not saying I have anything against Marvel or DC. I just think the market got flooded too fast.
And we've had this discussion before, but I think a lot of people think that, and I think it's just that it's a new genre now. So
give me more heroin. Give me it more. Give me more.
Yeah. DC has some good movies under their, but also Marvel doesn't have that many good. They have a ton of good movies, but there's some not very good movies. Look at Morbius that came out. That tank.
Well, yeah, but that's
not Marvel.
That's
a Marvel character. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's a Marvel character.
No, but Ant-Man sucked. It didn't tank, but I didn't like it.
I liked Ant-Man.
I liked Ant-Man.
See, that whole...
It goes for that genre, though. That's why we're a heist movie.
It's too many one-liners, one after another.
Over everyone.
Sorry, go ahead, Steven.
Let me rephrase what I said, because apparently I
rephrase it.
Everyone. In my opinion, DC had a couple good movies.
Green Lantern was great.
No, it wasn't. And then,
Green Lantern.
I only saw the first Halo.
And
I
then
watch the others.
And then Marvel has a bunch of great movies. but then some of them aren't really that good. Like Morbius is a perfect example, and Eternals is another perfect example.
Hey, I actually kind of liked Eternals. I thought it was interesting. I'm a Kirby fan, so like to have that kind of cosmic stuff going on and like really opening up the universe, it is a lot to take in. I have to say, if you don't know anything about the Eternals or the whole like gods and all this stuff that's going on, it is a lot of information to take in that they did in a small bit.
That's where it left me. It was like I was trying to all that in like an hour and a half. I'm like, I have to like read all of it. I have to get into the lore to understand everything.
So I never had a Kirby, but I had the little real talking Bubba.
Brandon just hopped into the chat.
I had the Teddy Ruxpin.
Brandon. Brandon, we're going to be wrapping up shortly, so we will. I'm going to be doing a Dork Night episode with Brandon and Justin, so we should wrap things up here.
Oh, okay.
Anything else you guys wanted to discuss before we wrap it up? Other than they're already talking about Mephisto again.
Again, the third eye.
I mean, the third eye. That's funny. Third Eye, no one will remember this because it was the 70s and you guys were all like 3. But when Nickelodeon first came on, they actually had a program called The Third Eye, which had like 3, like Haunting of Cassie Palmer, Children of the Stones, and Under the Mountain or something. And those were pretty cool, but nobody remembers The Third Eye. And real quick, Tom Morse said that he was watching Halo on Paramount Plus.
How is
that? He was enjoying it. I watched the first episode. I've still got the second and third and possibly fourth one to watch.
I've never played the game, so
yeah,
the games are good.
Yeah,
the games.
I hear the people who are big into the game lore aren't so much a fan of the show.
Yeah, some people aren't.
I haven't seen this series yet, but I don't take like when it comes to games and movies or games and TV shows,
it's tough.
I can't dissect it. It's like with Super Mario Brothers. You can't dissect the movie from the game.
I love that movie.
It is a good movie. But the thing is, when you can't really dissect a video game movie from the game itself. So I just enjoy whatever movie video game adaptation that is. Okay, so
oh my god, it's almost like Brandon's here right now. Weird.
I just have to say Captain Lou Albano is always going to be Mario to me.
That was freaking great.
All right, how do I type Rogue One?
That's something you need to get on that little Plex there. All the Zelda. The Zelda shows.
Zelda and Mario, and Captain N, and
So we did
Mother Brain.
We did Saturday morning cartoons and we did toys. We got to do what our next one.
We'll think of something else for retro.
RW hijacks the show again.
How did I hijack the show?
I'm kidding. See, I got jokes. I got jokes.
Well, tell you what, I pose all of you here to come up with some retro thoughts on what we should cover. We talked about toys, talked about Saturday morning cartoons. It could be anything.
I agree, Brandon.
Oh, we could do retro games because you got Atari, ColecoVision, and
retro
all
games.
That stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I actually my original Xbox, I have that chip put in, so I have the emulator for everything.
Retro
from,
music,
Commodore up to Super Nintendo.
Actually, I just got an email. They just released a new Launchbox.
He-Man.
Launchbox is the software to do emulation. It's so cool. It like brings down, it sucks down like all the game art and like the manuals and everything. It's pretty cool.
When I was a kid, I had the red plaid lunchbox. Had the
I thought he said lunchbox too. I have my original Superman movie lunchbox.
Okay, on that note, I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. Definitely check the show notes up above or down below. Go follow JJ. He's going to be doing like 46 locations. It's going to be insane. So go check him out. I'm going to try to see if I can nab one of his books. But for me, just Google Leo Pine. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which. But I run a little thing called the Dorkening Podcast Network, and a lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome stuff. And we have 2 brand new shows launching this week. So keep an ear out. Steven.
Super Retro Throwback Reviews on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We have 2 shows, Super Retro Throwback Reviews and CSI The Vegas Files, both on the Dorkening Podcast Network and all major podcast distributors. Check us out on Patreon. They're $3. You can get so many perks. One of them is a video series called The Rant, where I bitch about piss me off. I just released one yesterday where I go to war with the debt collectors or credit bureaus. So I had a big beef with them yesterday, and the war is not over with them. So check out The Rant, become a $3 backer, and you can hear the whole story. That's it, and I'm here every Wednesday. Where I
Okay. Somebody that's breathing seductive breaths into the microphone. JJ.
Am I? I don't even notice. Facebook, Instagram, Jeremy Courtney, and come check out Comic Book Lovers Buy, Sell, Trade, and Auction on Facebook. And over 20,000 members. Save on your eBay fees.
Awesome. I need to talk to you about that. I need to start selling some of my comics.
All right.
Yeah. Yo.
Yo Saint Laurent on Instagram is where I hang out most of the time. So yeah, find me there.
RW.
Hey, it's that time. Oh my book. Now, you can find everything you need over here somewhere. Officialrwmart.com at the bottom. Links to Tenor and Cameo and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. And there's probably a link to buy this book, Life Inside My Head, and my comic book that's there. Lots of videos to watch, things to make you smile and laugh when I'm not around. And that's about it. Thank you guys for joining tonight. Powerful branding. Justice saying, you can follow me here at Powers Combined.
No. I actually showed up to say specifically, fuck you and Rogue One. All right? I hate that fucking movie. I will not abide that bullshit.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, but seriously, you can check me out usually every Wednesday here. Thanks for stopping by. I'm glad that I could make the show. I know that I'm mainly the reason you all tuned in for the last 37 seconds of this, so I really appreciate that. Leo, I'll see you in a few minutes. Guys, I'll see the rest of you next week.
Catch you guys later. Bye.
Peace. Oh, God. See you guys.